Nancy,
Hello.
I was
Hello.
beginning where everybody's showing up last minute.
I had to go find the email that had the link on it.
Yeah, me too. How is Cindy doing? She's all well again, I guess.
Yep.
Uh-huh. I'm in Oakland for my daughter's birthday and dinner tonight, so I'm gonna have to leave about 5. Hopefully.
You travel, Doug. Wow.
Well, we're happy to have you for as long as we get you.
Hey, Cindy.
I was doing social justice minutes and then it's like, oh, time to go, and now I gotta see my minutes. Oops, sorry about that.
Will Thanksgiving affect our schedule next month? Or
Um,
maybe-
there was some talk of that early on. Um, and the fact that Thanksgiving is Thursday, Wednesday would be our meeting. I think we can just kind of see where everybody's at that time. If people are going to be traveling or busy with preparations, we can delay or split the next 2 meetings, maybe do something between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Do a Thanksmas meeting.
Yeah.
That of course presents complications with Michelle for readjusting a whole bunch of stuff. Is everybody hearing me?
Yeah, I hear you,
Yes.
Tom.
Luba can't hear us.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't see
Luba, she can't hear that. Duh.
Well,
there.
when we start the meeting, I want to add that as an agenda item, is because it's not on the agenda for when we choose the meetings for next month or any other adjustment we make.
I did reach out to Dick and I haven't heard back from him, so I'm kind of wondering if maybe he won't be joining us.
Sometimes he joins us late, but reaching out helps. Did you reach out by phone or by text?
I sent a text and an email.
Okay, yeah. That's all we can do. And what did let's see, who's gonna be slightly late because of a doctor's appointment?
Justin.
Justin.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I just wrote to Luba suggesting she try just turning up the volume on her device. So, I find that sometimes it gets turned down for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
But she's gone now, looks like, so maybe she'll sign. No, she's not. She's still there.
Well, she was gonna try a different computer.
Uh,
Cindy, do you want me to minimize my screen and forward the financial report since probably Dick didn't see it?
Forward it? You mean like show it on the screen?
No, I can't do that because I didn't come in via the RE. I mean, email forward it.
Because it did not go to all of the members, is that
Right.
correct? It went to the financial committee, right?
And you and I.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
My printer has decided to not print all of the colors. I still have black and white, or black, but I've got to do a power clean apparently, which is going to require a little research.
Yeah. Printers are so temperamental and expensive.
Yeah. Well, I have an Epson, which has, I fill tanks with the colors, little tanks. I don't use cartridges like you do with a Hewlett Packard. And it's been working flawlessly for about 7 or 8 months. And, just this afternoon, it decided it wasn't going to work with me.
Hmm.
So can you hear us, Luba?
Yeah, now I can hear. My cats every now and then walk on the keyboard.
Of course they do, because they're cats.
Yeah, maybe,
Well, maybe you should ask your cat to go turn the other computer off.
I should close them both before night. Gosh.
Well, let's see, we have 5 people. That gives us enough to be a quorum, I believe.
Yep.
So it's 4 o'clock, we can begin. So we have our agenda, everyone should have received that. And I think we have some changes to make to it. So let's begin there. And Tom, you sent several.
Well, one is to add above floating trustees to add the dates.
Sure. Yes.
And
Yes.
then under unfinished business, we had previously talked about updating, well, by email, if not in person, updating the policy and procedures and the bylaws. And I think we ought to have that discussion. Again, there was an email that I have a copy that's not an official copy, but it's an up-to-date copy. And then there was some question about ops team members. Is that going to be anywhere like under your report, Cindy?
I don't have anything to report. I've not heard anything on that.
Well, I think we ought to have some conversation about that. So I
Mhm.
will add that under unfinished business. And then under new business, it was an email from Dan Egret and me about whether we should at least discuss an audit or some kind of a financial review, which is actually required by the bylaws to have at the close of every fiscal year. And then the other one was I was supposed to prepare a policy and procedures amendment regarding keeping track of the various team appointees the board makes. And I did that. I sent that out today. So I think we ought to maybe have a first reading of that and then maybe comment on it, but have a second reading in November and then try to refine it and so it can be adopted. So, and I've got kind of places in the agenda where it'll remind me that that's something to discuss.
Good, good. Okay, with those additions, are we okay with the agenda? Are we approved with the agenda?
Yep.
Did Todd want to have a report this month? We were gonna ask him that when he came.
Yes. Oh, you're muted, Todd.
There it is.
Yeah.
Got one of these setups where I've got screens all over and I'm trying to find the the right spot. Yeah, I'm not up yet, or am I?
No,
No,
we
you're
didn't
not.
want to make an assumption and just say you're going to give a report. We said when we got together, we would ask you.
Yeah, I'll say a little bit, but it seems like you have some stuff on the agenda already. So, but anyway, I'll say a little bit. If
Okay.
I appreciate the time.
Okay, we'll put you between number 4 and 5.
Okay.
Okay, appointment of a floating trustee for our next meeting. Well, I guess first we'll talk about the date for the next meeting.
I think that we have to approve the agenda.
Well, I just asked if, with those additions, if we were okay to go with that agenda.
I think I
And
was talking on top of you. Sorry.
We
Okay,
do have to approve the minutes, though.
we might consider if we don't want to do our usual fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, our usual fourth Wednesday, which would be the 26th of November, Thanksgiving Eve. If we don't want to do that, we might consider scooching the December meeting up 2 weeks to the 10th and kind of splitting the difference, calling it our Thanksmas meeting so we would have executive on the 3rd and Board of Trustees on the 10th of December. But first I'll ask, how are people feeling about the 26th?
I'm good.
No
Okay.
problem.
No problem for me.
No, okay. And Dick, you kind of brought up the question. How are you feeling about that one?
You mean Tom?
No, Doug, I'm sorry,
Oh,
Doug.
no, yeah, I said, it's good by me.
Okay, then we're all good. We will have our meeting at the usual time on October 22nd at 4 o'clock, and the week before on the 15th will be our executive committee. And
That's November
November,
26th,
you meant.
Oh,
November 26th.
sorry, 19th and 26th. Yes, there we go. Scrolled a little too far there. And do we have a volunteer for our floating member?
I would volunteer for that.
Okay, thank you,
If,
Tom.
if no one else wants to, for sure.
I'm willing, but doesn't matter. I'm available.
Okay,
Well, why don't you go ahead, Doug, because sometimes you are traveling and it makes it difficult for you maybe to fill that role.
Yeah, right. Okay, I've got it on the 19th.
okay, thank you, Doug.
Mhm.
And our minister's report.
Well, excuse
Cindy?
me, we didn't do
Yes?
we didn't
We
approve.
need to approve the minutes.
I'm sorry.
Number 3.
Yes. Minutes sent out by Marilyn and forwarded by me with our agenda. Are those approved as submitted? Seeing nods?
I have a
Stop.
suggested rewording, excuse me. I'm overriding you, Doug. I'm sorry, you had your hand up.
No, I was just voting to approve.
Oh, well, under the new business, the donation offer, I have problem with the wording. It says an offer $5,000 donation to hire a professional groundskeeper was discussed. That really wasn't the discussion. If there was any discussion at all, it was very brief, and it only concerned a donation that had to do with aesthetics and efforts to improve the grounds as far as the building and grounds team is concerned, or something like that.
Okay,
So, if, because I was the one who made the offer by the time we got to that discussion. So if there's any problem addressing this to Marilyn with that rewording, she could contact me. It would just simply not refer to professional groundskeeper, because that was very, very definitely not it.
Okay. Okay. Now Todd.
Okay. Yeah, let's see. Let me open up my notes here. Just had them. Yeah, two things. I know I sent I think Cindy and Nancy, I sent you both a bit about the process that we used it for the NAUA strategic plan.
Mhm.
Did you guys get that? I sent you the plan, which be good for folks to look over. But more importantly, I really liked this SWOT analysis that we did. And I would highly recommend we do something like that, or the board does something like that with the strategic plan. SWOT is just an acronym for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so the first thing we kind of did was, of course, went over our mission statement and often vision. It'd be our ends in this case, and that'd be sort of at the top of the plan. But to sort of say, well, what are our organizational strengths, and list those, and then what are the weaknesses? We might say, for example, well, our finances are a weakness. In-person attendance is a weakness. Those are things. So then you start to see how a plan would form around that, right? So the same with what opportunities are there that we haven't taken advantage of yet, right? That we could possibly take advantage of, and then what are threats to the actual organization itself that may hinder us as we move forward. Just a really good way to sort of start to see what direction the strategy might need to go in. So I'd recommend that the board consider doing something like that. Unfortunately, the person who led us in this, and this is what he did, it's a profession, was Wayne Hanna, who I think most of you heard died rather suddenly while he and his wife were in Europe on their celebrating their anniversary. So I was going to ask him to maybe work with us on this, but he's no longer available, obviously. But anyway, you have a copy of that somewhere, or that can get passed on, or I can send it again when you're ready to move in that direction. And then I also wanted to just comment on the audit real quickly, because Dan Inkert had contacted me about that as well, which I always think an audit's a great idea. I always have ever since I've been here, but the money's never been there, nor has the person. So we're often in want of somebody that can do it. Every audit we've had since I've been here has been some volunteer who's done it, some of whom have been more skilled at it than others. We've never been able to pay for a professional audit. And that to me leaves the question as to the value of the audit, right? So unfortunately, it's very expensive. I mean, an organization ours is probably going to run somewhere between $7,000 and $15,000. But I do think if it's possible to somehow do that, I would certainly support it.
We have that idea, I think, down below in discussion, but maybe we could continue it a little bit here. Some organizations that I've been a part of have not had, a formal audit professional, but they've had an audit review team or committee. And that way the responsibility is not on just one person in the organization, but it's an internal arrangement. If you had any experience with that?
I haven't. You would think that it would sort of be, if we really did do it annually, it'd probably be something that would fall under the finance team, you know, to at least organize. But I haven't, you know, we've had a couple of really good folks who've done it in the past. Herb Bonella did it, shortly after I came, which I think was his background.
Yeah,
And then Chuck Elson was also very good at it, I think. You know, he did it almost on a regular basis
Hmm.
while he was treasurer. So, you know, there's been periods where we've been more comfortable. Marie Bjork was our treasurer for years, and I also thought she was excellent, but I have since discovered a lot of actual mistakes, you know, as far as things go too. So I don't, it's hard for me to, it's hard for me to say that anything less than a professional audit is going to be, you know, best practice. I'll put it that way. At the same time, I don't know how to do a professional audit. You know, we just don't have the financial resources to do so. So yeah, we have to get creative. And if there's a team, I think that team would have to be made up of people that are qualified to, in some way at least, to do their best.
well, our finance team is your appointment, which is Rebecca, Dick Burkhart, Bill Morkel, and Dale Vanderlinden. Is there any point in asking that team if they see that they have the capability to do some kind of review, or is it all just a moot point?
Might be worth asking them if they have any ideas, you know. I'm not, I mean, not that I don't trust Rebecca explicitly, of course. But I think as a staff member and somebody who's very close to the numbers, a professional audit would probably want somebody who's not involved in the day-to-day business, right? So she would probably have to be excluded from an audit. I don't know Darrow's background. He might have some comfort with looking into it. I don't think, you know, I think Dick is a great guy, but I also think that he has drawn the short straw for 3 years in a row and has been kind enough to
Yeah.
occupy a position that he's not necessarily qualified for or that skilled at. So, and Bill Morkill, you know, he was a very successful businessman. He may have some ideas at least how to audit or how to get an auditor that would be useful to us. Right, yeah, I think it's worth asking, just thinking out loud. But I wouldn't rely on that team to necessarily give us the audit we want, but maybe they can help figure out what we can do.
Okay. Dan, you just joined us and I know you've been in conversation about this and kind of brought it up. Do you have any thoughts you wanted to add to that?
Yes, I agree with Todd. You know, we had an audit. We had an audit when Todd, the early years when he was here a time or so, when I was president, and it was not a big deal. It's just a professional practice that that almost every company in the country does on business, you know. And it's all a matter of money, from what I can tell. You know, how do we do that? So that might be the point to approach it at. How do we find somebody for either to volunteer? I'm trying to think back. Todd mentioned a couple of them that did audits for us, but there were more also. And maybe like he said, the finance group could do some creative research there and see who might volunteer, or you know, or we can come up with some funding. It's about the only things I can come up with. But I do agree that from the standpoint of protecting the board, protecting the ops team and our employees, it's just good practice to have an audit once in a while. And I think it's important to at least try and get that done.
Yeah, the other thing we could potentially do is consider changing the bylaw, which I think currently says it's supposed to happen every year, which is just is what makes it, people just throw up their hands and say, well, we can't do that.
Yeah,
But now we tried this with the the ministerial sabbatical too, so I'm not saying it would work, but it might be possible for us to say, we have to have an audit at least every 3 years. And we're setting aside money for those 3 years to make that happen. Create a budget line item budget where we could at least put some money away to try to get to the bare minimum of what it might cost.
Well, that's certainly an idea. Could we throw that idea out as to the finance team and see if they have any other suggestions, but point out that that is certainly a suggestion worth looking into. And the bylaws say shall be subject to a review at the close of the fiscal year. It doesn't require it to be an audit.
Okay.
But so we have some flexibility with terminology there.
Yeah, and it's always subject to review. You go to the letter of the law. Being subject to review is different than having a review. So, but nevertheless, I think it's important to come up with a means of actually having somebody who's good with numbers crunch hours once in a while.
Mhm.
Well,
And-
go ahead, Cindy.
I was just going to ask, like, would our pathway on this be to refer our conversation today to the finance team and let them take the lead with it?
That's what I was going to suggest, along with the suggestion that Todd just made.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say let them take the lead. I would just say get their input.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I think I agree that the board needs to be take the lead on this, as part of your fiduciary responsibility. Not that you need to do the audit, but just to make sure a system's in place. And I'm not suggesting we begin now and wait 3 years to do some kind of review. It'd be great if we can do something in the nearer future, but a plan for setting some money aside, which I don't know where we're going to get it now, how we're going to set it aside at this point, but yeah,
Okay, to the finance team.
Nancy.
Cindy,
one thought for you, Cindy, is you might ask the finance team also to explore people that might donate their time in addition to what you just talked about. There are some old members, I don't know if they're still active, but I can't remember the one gal's name that was a CPA. Haven't seen her in a long time, but maybe she'd be willing to do it for us. Just
That was Linda Lynn was one
yeah,
of,
Linda Lynn, that's her name.
Mm-hmm. I believe she's involved with the Inland Northwest
Oh, she is.
Unitarian
Oh,
Group.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I believe Bill Moorkill is as well.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Dan and a couple other folks in church are planning an art sale in December, and that could be quite lucrative. And maybe what we look at is, if in fact it is, that we set aside monies from that for this purpose. And Todd, I would love it if you would talk to Tom Bradabo. Tom does the books for Liberty Lake, their marina. And I approached him about doing it, but it was summertime and he was busy. But he might be one of the most experienced people we have at church. And maybe
Okay.
if you approached him, maybe he would consider it, especially now that it's not summer. And even if he sat in with the finance team, he might have some ideas for us.
Yeah, Dan.
Yeah, one last thing, you might ask the finance team to check and see what it costs to have an audit from a professional CPA firm or whoever they find, So, because we don't have a dollar amount, I'm guessing maybe $4,000, but that's just a guess. I don't know.
Well, and Tom might know because maybe they've done that out at the marina.
Right.
Okay. On my list. So I will contact the finance team and I don't know that they have any meetings scheduled. So I did reach out just about the report today to Dick and I didn't get a response from him. So I hope he's just busy for the moment and we can be in touch about that.
Well, I would address it to all three of them, you know, as a team. They don't, from my understanding, they don't have a chairman, so to speak. Or chair.
Hmm. It's not Dick?
Nope. He definitely says he's not the chairman.
Oh, and do we know for certain that Bill has resigned or disappeared or stepped away?
I checked with him in July because we're trying to figure out whether we had a vacancy to appoint. And he said as far as he realized, he was still on the team and he got occasional reports from Rebecca as a team member. Now, I do know that he participates with both congregations, but and I assume he's still a member of our congregation, but that's not in my wheelhouse. But he shouldn't be a member of our team if he's not a member of our church.
Nancy, were you the one who mentioned that he wasn't with our church? Oh, can't hear you.
Good Lord, you'd think after 5 years of doing Zooming that you wouldn't forget to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
I know that there was something posted, I believe on Facebook from INUU. And he responded to it. And not that that means anything, but Rebecca also mentioned to me that when there were meetings, he didn't attend. And what he told Tom was that he was never invited, so who knows? I just would be careful.
Doug?
Yeah, he's said to me within the last couple of months that he's, you know, part of our congregation as well as the other one. So, yeah, and you know, how recently was he at a men's breakfast, Tom? Can you remember? Maybe not the last one, but the one before, maybe?
Yeah, he was at the one before. He missed one because he was leading a hike on that same time on Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm.
He,
And for a while, he was ushering morning service too. So
he has done that probably within the last 8 or 9 months.
wouldn't count him out.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
you know, unless he resigns, which he didn't, because that's specifically what I asked him, whether he was still on the team. And we don't have a method to ask a person to not be on it, although I suppose we could have reason to do that. But
I guess I'll just ask Rebecca to well, I'll reach out to all 4 of those members and tell them that we'd like to schedule a meeting and see what kind of a response I get. And then we'll get a Zoom link and do our best to make it. Pardon?
That's Wiley telling me he wants me to do something.
Does he
not
want to
sure.
be on the finance committee?
That might, I think he's trying to tell me that Timmy has fallen down the well yet again.
well,
Don't ask him, he might make a deposit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go let him out. I'll be right back. But I think that, yeah, someone can be members of both organizations. I haven't seen Bill at church in ages. He may attend online. I don't know. But you know, Rebecca would know if gives a regular contribution or not. If he does, that's pretty much all that's required, so. All right, so I'll be right back.
Okay,
Also, maybe Cindy, for the purpose of Maryland trying to put everything in order, maybe this discussion would be something she'd put down under new business under audit.
Okay.
And under the president's report.
yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see. My president's report is brief. I have signed the ministerial agreement. It goes to Todd next. That happened just today. So it will be in Todd's folder for his signature next, and then sent to the board members. So everyone can have a email copy of that. So that's completed. I don't think I have too much to report other than that. Luba, how about the ops team?
Yeah, the October operations team meeting was not very long, brief, not many items on the agenda. First of all, Jean Larson, who was a guest at the meeting, talked about aesthetics team preparing for the art show in December and the timeline for the art sale as part of the fundraising. Then Rebecca added that accumulated over time donations of art needed to be cataloged. Well, that was the suggestion for Jean, and the aesthetics team can make then a decision what to be left for the church and what to be donated for the sale. Rebecca also mentioned the progress of the QuickBooks Online. After a lot of tedious work and Rebecca's assistance, the bookkeeper now feels more confident. The new website is close to finishing. A new calendar looks modern and much easier to manage. Rebecca is fully focused, at the time of the meeting, was fully focused on the auction. And now we can see that there is a display on the wall of the auction items. Very small print, though, it's my opinion, but I didn't know at that time how it's going to be displayed. The news on the building and grounds. A landscape company has been scheduled to assess the property and discuss possible improvements. And the fire department found a problem with the backup batteries that were too small. So new batteries will be installed using the money from the Property Management and Repair Fund. Thanks to the vision of Lynn Diddens and the muscle of the operations team, the Friendship Hall looks different and better. And there are several names on the list, Rebecca said, but she did not mention the names though, for the open positions of the operations team. And so the operations team, she mentioned the building and grounds team. Gosh, I'm now feeling a little bit confused. Yeah, well, what was important, she said that it is necessary, whether this team or that team, to talk to the people in person, find out if they are really agreeable to do what they're supposed to do before these people will be confirmed as candidates. That's it.
Do you mean candidates for the operations team?
Well, any team, but more important, operations team, yes. And even building and grounds. I think that was the building grounds she was talking about. Yes, yes. She has several people. No, I have to correct myself and change this because first she was talking about operations team, and then she mentioned that there were several names for the open positions of the building and grounds team. So the discussion was, what kind of people do we need for building and grounds team? Well, the people who not necessarily have the muscle to do the job, but have some things to help with chores in the, well, in the building and grounds responsibilities. Well, including like Robert, for example, decided or told Rebecca that his truck will be available for hauling whatever. So the people who are on the building and grounds team should know what they expected to do and how they can do, both mentally, like planning, and physically, or having some resources.
That,
And Dan,
I was gonna add to that, I just got, at least from the art and aesthetics team standpoint, I just got back from a meeting with Jean, Lynn, and Lynn Diddens and Rebecca. And we defined a whole number of things at that meeting. It's gonna be on the first Friday in December, which I believe is December 5th. We'll have an article going into the Sun here tomorrow, telling people about it. We had planned to, to try and get original artwork and then give the owners half of it, but that isn't going to work. We have some requirements that Rebecca said is the state's cracking down, so we determined that everything going in the show will be donated artwork. And that way we can do it without any paperwork, it's much simpler. So whatever goes in the show will be donated. And then the total amount would go to the church. And let's see what else. We're going to be looking also at a couple other projects. Some work has been done by Lynn and also Rebecca on the entryway, but we're going to do a more comprehensive design and then probably present it to the board at some time in the future. This will be a totally separate project so that when you walk in there, it's a real warm, inviting feeling more than it is now. That'll be coming up down the road from the aesthetics team. And I don't know, any questions on the art show? Any thoughts on that?
I have one. Will you be coordinating with the other First Friday gallery shows and be kind of on that list of things that are happening that day?
Yes, we're going to try and get in the Inlander and find any other way we can advertise for it. And we have a couple lost leaders there. I'm debating whether to put in a painting I have is worth, or artwork is worth quite a bit. Found out it's worth more than I thought it was the other day, so I'm debating there. But we also looked down in down the hallway there, and I forget the room. There's a lot of paintings in there that the church owns that have been given, and we'll be going through those. So what will happen is we'll ask for photographs of the work, either sculptures or original artwork, a quality artwork, and then we'll probably get quite a few things, and the aesthetics team will get together and assess those and see which ones we have room for on the wall, and then go from there, and which ones we can make the most money from. But I'm not sure I want to donate the one I have. I found out it's worth $3,600, so.
Whoa. Okay, thanks, Dan. And
Yeah.
Tom?
Well, couple of things with regard to you, Dan, when you say things would be donated, so if artist Jane Doe donates a painting and it doesn't sell, then is she giving it to the church or does she want it back?
No, you can get it back if it doesn't
Okay.
sell.
All right, so
Yeah.
that wanted to clarify that. And
Yeah.
then to go back to the buildings and grounds, I attend the buildings and ground, efforts, but golly, my understanding is that the buildings and grounds uh, team is pretty basically whoever shows up. What am I missing? I've never heard of there being a designated number of people. It was like if you could operate a hedge.
No, no,
You were
my
there.
understanding, yeah, Tom, sorry. My understanding is that whoever shows up are volunteers.
Ah, okay, so there is a designated team. Okay, that
Yes.
would be an interesting
Mhm.
clarification.
Well, hold on, there's a building and grounds team. And they meet once a month, check in with the ops manager on any projects that she might know about.
Okay,
And then they, along with any volunteers that come by, start to work on that.
okay, that's good. Thanks.
Yeah.
And Jean?
Yes, going back to Luba's report, I'm quite sure Rebecca was looking for people for the operations team, not the building and grounds team.
The question was about operations team.
Yes, she's looking for new members for the operations team.
New members, okay, so that was correct. My first thought was right.
Okay, well, and just for clarification, the board appoints members to the ops team. The operations team does not appoint members to its own team. So there can be suggestions that come to the board, but ultimately the board is the one who appoints the members.
Yeah, we would appreciate the courtesy of, giving us a voice in that, at least, just to make sure we don't have anyone on there we can't work with.
Okay,
Of course, it's the board's final decision, but I'm just saying, please run anyone by us, and if we have any suggestions, we'll run them by you.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
How many positions are really vacant? Is Julianne still on?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
two positions.
Okay, and those would be the resignation of Don and the expiration of Robert, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
I believe our bylaws say 2 to 4 members, so.
Yeah.
Okay, and the secretary report is that it was forwarded to Rebecca, our last meeting for which the meetings were approved. That was in August. Treasurer's report, Nancy, we got several documents about an hour and a half before the meeting from Rebecca in very, very, very small print.
Very, very small.
And Nancy, you were going to try and show those to us or no?
I sent them, I forwarded them out to the board members, so they have them now. The only way that you can see the, it's from July 1 to October 1, I believe. And it's so tiny, the only way you can see that is to zoom in on it on your screen. And if you find a way to be able to print it when it's big, let me know, because yeah. The profit and loss statement is there, and what Rebecca reported on that was the one area that is over budget at this point in time is childcare, because when she budgeted childcare, she only budgeted Bella and Emma for one service.
Mm-hmm.
They are here for 2 services because of Rochet's kids. And so that's put her over with regard to childcare. And that was the one thing that she commented on, and I didn't have time to, I mean, I was working to get the print big. So I didn't look at anything else, in the quarterly.
Yeah, Tom.
We still, as far as I know, we still don't have what was considered a finalized year-end statement from last year. We had one and then it was very quickly, I heard that there were some more tweaks to it. Any comment on where we are on that?
None from me.
No, I agree with you. I don't know that we ever saw a year end that was accurate.
Okay.
So we need to ask for that.
Yeah, would that be something that you'll be able to do, Cindy? Check in on that?
Yeah, I'll add that to my finance team list here, a year-end statement. So that would have been for the year ending like June 30th, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yours, my ballot. You need to get yours filled in. We should take those down to the library.
Is that Dale? Okay, let's see, we've bounced, oh, it is Dale.
I was telling her I need her to fill out her voting pamphlet so we can get it into the library.
Oh,
Indeed.
Have fun you are doing, I really appreciate it.
Let's see, we've bounced around a little bit. I hope Marilyn isn't going to throw up her hands on this meeting's minutes. Let's go to upcoming fundraising.
Sure. So I'll give you just a brief update of what we've done so far. And the reason I want this in the minutes is because part of last year's failure to meet budget was the fact that there were going to be fundraisers that didn't happen. So so far we've done book sales from the books that are now in the foyer, t-shirts, Makers Market, Real Change, the Honey Raffle, Sponsor a Song, the concert October 30th. Lisa Conger is doing a poetry reading and book signing and sales in November. And then we have the art show in December. And I'm going to do a raffle because raffles seem to make a lot of money with an Italian dinner with lasagna, homemade lasagna. So far we've made $1,500 and that's not bad at all. So,
And Nancy, the paint and sip has been rescheduled for, remind me?
well, she was either going to try and do it in November or December. Rebecca was busy trying to pull together the auction and she's our paint and sip leader. So I
Okay.
promise I'll tell you when it's going to happen.
Okay, I want to be in on that one.
Okay.
Let's see. Back to our unfinished business here. Nancy, why don't you continue and do our clarification on unpaid pledges and the letters that we had talked about?
So when I spoke with Rebecca back in early June, I think it was, what she said was that the upcoming pledges would be impacted by the death of so many folks. And so that led to thinking that we also had a problem because there were people that died and did not finish paying off their pledge, and that is not the case. There were two people who passed away. One with a $550 unpaid pledge. And I have a feeling that when their estate is finalized, that will be paid off. And then a second member whose husband is still alive. And they have an unpaid pledge of $800. And it could just be that he doesn't realize that that's the case. So there is no outpouring of, 20 members or anything like that have unpaid pledges. And so from my point of view, what would need to happen would be, I don't know if it's a change in policy governance or policy, to say that when folks, if they leave something to the church and they have an unpaid pledge, that would be fulfilled first, and then the rest of the money, if it's designated as such, would go to the endowment. But there's not a big problem to be solved right now.
We have a solution for which there is no problem.
Yeah. From my point of view.
Okay.
Tom has a hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom?
Well, the bylaws address the situation of a donation specifically to the endowment fund or a donation that isn't designated. So the bylaws have, it isn't a matter of making up a solution. It's pretty clearly defined.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Mhm.
Was
Tom,
there-
I
there's-
remember at one point there was conversation about having like a checkbox on the pledge form that, it's my intent if in the event of my death that I would like my estate to pay my pledge kind of thing. Did that ever go anywhere? Do you recall?
There was discussion I'm speaking what I went back and forth with the endowment team on, although Dan is a member of the endowment team, but that was talked about, but it was not seen as being practical and might be offensive to some people. So that never went anywhere for one reason or another.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, though, in my own case, I'm reviewing my estate documents now, and I'm revising my own estate documents to say if I die with an unpaid pledge, notwithstanding I'm making an endowment contribution, that my personal representative is supposed to pay my unpaid pledge.
Mhm.
So I'm dealing with it myself, but I don't know how we deal with it on a bigger picture if it ever arises.
Yeah. Strategic plan. So
Yeah.
are we okay to move ahead to that one? Anything
Yeah,
else?
and then I had the two others after that, yeah.
Yeah,
One other, actually, we already discussed one of them.
yeah. So, let's see, strategic plan. Todd mentioned using the SWOT technique with that. And previously, I think that it might have been in our executive committee meeting, we talked a bit about how we wanted the process to go, or how we'd like to suggest the process goes. We talked, and these are just kind of off the top of my head, a couple little snippets, but we talked about a facilitator. We talked about congregational involvement, doing the congregational piece before the board does their input so that we can take that to form our input. And I think Nancy had said that someone from the Spokane Alliance might be a candidate to be a facilitator.
Yeah, I
For-
spoke with both Karen Dorn Steele and Barb Stubing last night at the SJCC, Social Justice. And they would be willing to facilitate that kind of conversation.
Those two individuals?
Those two, and there may be, I don't know if Bree Hernandez has been trained yet, but she was going to be trained. But those two are specifically trained by the Alliance, and there may be one other. But they said, yes, they would be willing.
How do people feel about having an event to solicit congregational involvement to begin this? The thought occurred to me we might attach it to our third Sunday of the month potluck, where we have some people kind of in the habit of staying late and being there in person on that day. Thoughts, Tom?
Well, one thing that we did decide was that whether I volunteered or whether I was chosen, I can't remember, was going to send out something and give the board members 2 weeks to give their thoughts about a strategic plan, which I think I sent out to all of you the comments that came back, the individual comments I summarized, and I also had formatted the NAUA 3-year strategic plan. So there were comments, and I don't know whether we want to have a special board meeting to talk about all this. We could talk about this for an hour and a half to 2 hours and not ever get around to getting to the rest of our meeting. Yeah, there's lots of thoughts. In fact, one of the thoughts was even when I pulled off the UUA website from 10 or 15 years ago, is there any reason for doing strategic planning? And that caused me to think about the strategic plan that we have had. Has it been used? Does anybody refer to it? Does the operations team use it? Does the board use it? Which then kind of makes me ask the question, well, not that it's my position, but when we do a strategic plan, what the hell happens to it? Who uses it?
Good question.
Yeah, absolutely. We use it. The ops team looks at it and checks
Good.
things off as they get accomplished. And then that's what determines when we're ready to start a new strategic plan, because we have accomplished the plan.
Well,
Generally,
and
the plan should be about a 3-year plan.
yeah, and that's consistent with my going through this plan and crossing off a whole bunch of stuff that we either did or because of our reduced size, when it was done in 2017, isn't relevant anymore. So it definitely needs to be revised. But the thing that I want to make sure is that we get everybody involved. And if you have a meeting, you're excluding a whole lot of people that maybe should have input, and that concerns me as to how we accomplish both of those things, no matter what we do.
Well, I can,
Go ahead.
if it's all right, Dan, I just to say that, people do get involved, but you can't create a plan by democracy. Right? The board is the leaders, have been elected as the leaders of this church. They are the visionaries. They have to put together the plan. But you do get input from people through your surveys and congregational conversations, those sort of things. However, the board should only get to the plan to a certain point, right? The action steps is where you go to the teams that you think would be responsible for those areas. Like, so you would get to the point of your goals, right? Like, here's the goals we want. Now, how are we going to accomplish that? And you would go to the teams that are responsible for those particular areas and ask them to come up with steps that can be taken that they themselves could help fulfill. And then that goes into the plan so that you end up having, your areas, your goals, and then your action steps.
That's
Dan.
exactly right. When we did that originally, we polled each of the teams asked them to give us information into the board as to, as we set up the strategic plan. And then we also took the results of that to the congregation and said, this is what we propose, and had them vote on it. And so that set up our goals so that we could concentrate on the primary things the congregation and the board wanted to do, rather than getting caught up in all the nitty-gritty other kind of things that would take you down the rabbit hole. So it really focused us in those years, but that's kind of fallen apart in recent years. And we haven't had that set of goals that we really were concentrating on. My two bits.
Nancy.
Todd, when you did the SWOT, I don't know what you want to call it. action,
Analysis, SWOT analysis, yeah.
Was it everybody involved in, the group, or was it just the board?
So we actually had a strategic planning team that was a branch of the board. And then once we got that done, we went back to the board and said, here's what we came up with. What do you think? And then we filled it in even more.
So that strategic team did the strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah. And then brought the whole board in later to fill it in. That way you're not, you're getting past the obvious stuff so that you don't have to spend, as Tom's pointing out, an entire board meeting just doing this one thing. You have a small group start on it, and then you have the board come back and look and say, oh yeah, that's all good, but what about this or that or whatever. So then you get a pretty good list. I mean, the list of strengths that we came up with were 10 for strengths. Looks like 10 for weaknesses. Another 10 for opportunities, and then it looks like six threats that we identified. So it's a pretty good list of things. And again, if you look at threats like a lack of a strategy at the present time, for example, that's a threat. Not knowing what direction we're taking was an obvious one. An unclear direction on action items, right? So how are we going to act on this strategic plan? So all that stuff sort of came up. Tension between serving individuals versus local fellowships and congregations was a problem. So these are just ideas that sort of become obvious to most everybody, that these are things that are sort of holding us back. And if we thought about just one of these areas today, what are some of the threats or challenges, whatever you want to call it, you would all be able to come up with a pretty lengthy list, I would imagine, of areas that we need to improve upon, or else.
Now, was that the work of your subcommittee or the work of the whole?
It was the work of the subcommittee, but then once we got our part done, we came back to the board and said, here's what we came up with.
Yeah.
And then the board added to it as a whole.
And we did talk about a subcommittee as a possibility to do some preliminary work, which kind of fits into what you were saying. Even according to normal rules of stuff with a 7-member board, you're not supposed to have a majority, which would be 4 of the board meeting unless, you have open meetings. So that would mean 3 unless we somehow could walk around that idea of having 4 and not have them be open public meetings.
But all of the people, Todd, wouldn't have to be board members.
They wouldn't have to be.
Oh,
But I also think it'd be okay for you to have 4 board members or more, even more, working on it, because you're not deciding anything, right? You're just talking about these areas. You didn't have any authority to actually adopt this. That would be up to the board to say, yeah, we accept this analysis and we'd like to make some changes to it. But I think it's just be a work group.
So it would be good to have someone from RE, from Building and Grounds. I'm just thinking out loud here, people. Someone from Social Justice.
I think I would I don't know. I think I don't think for this point, I would do that because you're branching off into specific areas of interest versus these 4 questions, right? I mean, if you're going to adopt the SWOT analysis. So really you're just wanting to look at the overarching strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to the organization, the overarching ones. So, you know, if you get someone in, you know, for say social justice, they may very well start to strategize around social justice versus the broader organizational questions that are facing us. And I think that really is something that the board has to, you know, as the visioning body is more prepared to look at.
Yeah, and if you get many more than 5 people, you almost become dysfunctional.
Yeah, yeah. I think there is a time to bring all those in. I mean, certainly when you start to talk action steps,
Yeah,
right? Like if social justice becomes an area, I'm not saying it would, but if social justice or you know, mission to the larger world, whatever you want to call it, becomes an area, then you say, well, who's gonna most likely work on this, right? Well, the social justice team certainly would be part of that, Social Justice Coordinating Council. So then you bring them and say, we have these goals, and we base these goals not on our own genius, but we did surveys and we did questionnaires and we had open meetings, whatever. And so we came up with some pretty obvious goals out of those. Now, how are we going to achieve that goal? And that's the level where you really engage the teams.
yeah. Is there a SWOT document around that would, or a summary that we could get a little more familiar in detail?
Yeah, let's see. We can't share on this, can we? Or can we? Let's see. No.
No, I
I
don't
don't
think,
believe so.
let me,
Well,
let me,
Well, if it's something that we could like read in the peace and quiet, you know,
Yeah.
tomorrow, that would be helpful. But is there any point to try to establish a group of 3 or 4 who would take on this very first step and then learn how to use this SWOT system in this very initial stage?
yeah, and I'm happy to you know, help with that too. You know, I won't come to every meeting, but I'm happy to come to some meetings and even an initial meeting and just tell you about our process. So that's fine. But yeah, I can send this unless you and Cindy still have it and want to send it to your email list. If not, I can resend it.
I can do that. Then you don't
Okay.
have to find it and find their email, so I'll send that.
Okay, yeah. And there's also the I think I also sent you the actual strategic plan, so you can get an be an example anyway, not necessarily a.
And I sent your plan out, you know, formatted with indentations and subsections. I formatted it from what I got from Nancy. But we need a group, and I had volunteered originally to be a part of what I call a subcommittee. I don't know, but you know, I'm not doing it by myself, folks.
I'll help.
Tom and Nancy.
Come on, one more at least.
Great. One more.
Okay,
Luba
Yeah, wonderful.
volunteer.
and Todd, if you will
Yep.
make sure that you can come to at least the first, second
Yep.
one. I think.
Sure.
Very good.
Is there a way, can we be effective by Zoom, or would it be better if we were sitting down together where we were face to face with just 4 people?
I'd rather
Well,
do
no.
it face to face if we could.
Who would?
Okay, it's fine by me. Yeah.
Just let me
Hey.
get through the concert on Thursday.
Okay. Yeah, we did ours on Zoom, of course, on NAUA because we're all over the country, but
Mhm.
it's fine. I'd
Hey,
hate to have to
at least the
drive
first
5 minutes to church.
Yeah,
If we at least do the first one together in person.
Yeah, okay.
yeah. Um,
So we'll take a look at that and I'll send out the document when we get off our board meeting.
Mhm.
yeah, and that will give me a chance to get clear part of my personal calendar, which is extremely tied up with some stuff right now.
Okay, we had on our unfinished business list, policy and procedure and bylaws. Did we address, was that for a specific issue?
Well, it was something Doug and I talked about. You know, we've been struggling getting them updated. Part of the reason we always got back from Luba or Cindy, you, or either of you who worked with Rebecca, was in the process of updating the website, things just weren't getting in there and things were kind of a mess. And
Mhm.
so we wondered whether things were solved enough that there was an updated version of policy and procedures, not only for us, but for anybody who wanted to find them along with our bylaws. And,
Yeah.
and if not, I shared with Doug what I have kept up to date as the parliamentary advisor all along, including, you know, when things were amended and what the amendments were, and even some editing corrections because the numbering system in the policy and procedures was a bit out of whack. So, you know, we offered to circulate what I've got if we don't have the official version. So that was why this kind of was unfinished business we'd already talked about.
Yeah. Well, and Luba mentioned from the ops team meeting that progress is being made on the website. Luba, do you think that we need to approach Rebecca at at this point, or is it imminent?
I'm not sure how to approach about that because the progress, well, it's the word, the definition, how much of a progress, in which direction the progress, and so on. And that's what I heard. So I cannot add anything to that.
Okay. Well, maybe that is a question for me to address with Rebecca, since I've had at least one discussion with her about the state of the website and policies and procedures on it. So
Yeah.
uh,
Would
as-
it do any good for me to send the latest versions that I have, because they do have something that we did within the last year, to you so that you would have those?
um, yeah, I've got it, but it's buried deep within my mailbox. So I think, yeah, that would be helpful.
Okay, all right. I'm taking a note here.
Todd, is it Rebecca who does the website or is that Michelle's job?
I think it's both, but Rebecca does most of it. Rebecca does most everything. She's grossly underpaid.
Yes. Ugh. So underpaid and so overworked, Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she has to put up with us.
It's true. She has to put up with a lot for sure.
Yes, yes, yes. She's a dynamic person.
Yeah.
Okay, under new business, we have the issue of the audit, which I think we have discussed sufficiently. And the policies and procedures, which we have discussed now. Was there anything more with that?
Well, yeah, because I was supposed to propose a policy and procedures that would address these board-appointed team members. And I sent that out here in the afternoon, the middle of the afternoon. But what I suggested was that in our discussion during the ministerial agreement, the matter of volunteer board not practically or very effectively being able to track board-appointed team members, which a number of them are required by the bylaws. And so we talked about that rather than try to include something in the ministerial agreement that the minister should make this happen. We came up with the idea that we would have a policy and procedures that would do that. So I have drafted one and I'd like to read it as a first reading and respond to any comments and then have a second reading in November. So I put it under operations. The operations team is a section of the policy and procedures, and it has right now 11 subparagraphs. And I couldn't find any paragraph into which this seemed to fit very well. So I suggested putting it as 2.12, because the last one is 2.11, although there's a problem with the numbering system that needs to be worked out. And I would entitle it Board Appointed Team Members. 2.12, Board Appointed Team Members, the operations team shall not fail to keep the Board of Trustees advised of team members appointed by board action and reappointment of team members pursuant to the bylaws, including A, annual notice at the beginning of each fiscal year of current team members appointed by the board. B, expiration dates of board-appointed team member terms and names of members needing reappointment or the need for new appointments. C, team vacancies due to resignations or other reasons prior to term expirations. And that would be what I propose. And now this doesn't include, it only includes those in the bylaws that are required to be appointed by the board, such as 2 to 4 members of the operations team and I think the finance team and a couple others. So it probably only refers to about 6 to 8 positions. But I don't know how volunteer board, and we talked about this, a volunteer board keeping track of that, whereas it seems like it could be on an electronic calendar as reminders and a record kept of it by administration. So that's what I proposed. And any comments about changing it or just consider it because you all got it and then take it up in November?
Well, it sounds reasonable to me. It sounds like a good plan for keeping track of those appointments so that we know what vacancies are upcoming and are aware of it.
Mhm.
Okay, well, without not receiving any comments, we'll keep this as it is, and people can come up with it, critique it, suggest changes or whatever, and then in November, we'll take it up again as an amendment to the policy and procedures document.
Okay,
And I did send this to Maryland, so it could be attached.
good. And Tom, the procedure would be first reading at this meeting, second in November, and then a vote in the following meeting or in that November meeting?
We don't really have a good prescribed way. When they did the board email policy and procedures that we got from the shared ministry team, we modified it in that meeting and adopted it. But other times we've done a first and second reading so that people have time to be thoughtful about it. So I would hope, but there's no prescribed process, that we could deal with it next meeting in November. But if we need to postpone it till December, so be it.
Okay. All right, good.
Cindy, if I may,
Mm-hmm.
I have a request. So Tom, you're fabulous at what you do when you come up with new things. Can we limit emails to board members to the week of the board meeting? I can't find all of my, like that paper that you just mentioned. I can't find it. And I've got papers everywhere. So if there's something, not to send it out until the week of our board meeting so I don't know about the rest of you, but I need to be able to keep my shit together, so to speak. And I'm being as nice as I can, but when I get stuff 3 weeks ago and I print it and then I put it it's my fault that I'm not as organized with paper, but it would help me if things that have to do with the board meeting come that week,
I agree with Nancy. I agree with Nancy. I'm not
or even Sunday.
Mhm.
not well organized. I lose stuff. All of a sudden they get deleted.
Well, that certainly sounds a reasonable goal and objective for us to all try to focus on.
Thank you.
1 week,
I just wanted to question, would it be useful to create a folder in your email where you kind of drop all the stuff relating to the board?
I do have one.
Okay, I'm
that's what I
sorry,
do.
I may have been impertinent, I'm sorry.
No, you're not impertinent at all. It's just overwhelming for me right now.
No, I have moments like that.
I think that's a great idea, Justin, and I too have a file. And for some reason, my Yahoo Mail likes to scramble my subject lines and the body of my email. It's a bizarre thing. I don't know if I've got a virus in there or what, but it just makes it worse than if I don't put them into file folders. So,
Yeah.
Okay,
Gremlins.
yeah.
Because I cannot find that email,
Which email you're talking about, by the way?
the policies and procedures. I thought I had it right here, but that wasn't it.
No, well, it did just come out about 4 hours ago, so I was
Okay.
within your week's suggestion.
I think that's all of our new business. We addressed the audit.
Yep.
Any other member input?
Oh, well, I would add one thing. There was something out there somewhere about the $5,000. That offer is kind of pending. A lot of stuff has been done. The Buildings and Ground team and some of the volunteers, I don't even know who's on the team, met with a representative of the city, who's a friend of Betty Bradabo, on October 15th. And we spent an hour. I was, primarily an observer, as were most of the other people, although there were suggestions. And my understanding was that this representative, Kathy, is going to kind of present some formal ideas. We all need to keep in mind that the city program that she is involved with is designed to try to save money. So a lot of their emphasis is drought-free or plantings that need minimal water. But in the process of this whole meeting, it became apparent that we have a very, very, I'm going to use the term, corrupted or out of function irrigation system. So that was a lot of discussion about that. And the one zone has so many outlets on it. It's amazing it works at all, according to Don. But it's something is in the process, and Todd is involved. He's volunteered to get involved. So we need to sit down, and I think that's probably in the works. Sit down and see what could be worked out so that there's some kind of a program and some kind of a way to kind of account for what is done that's related to the program, and not necessarily just somebody going out and repairing a lawnmower or something like that. So there's some stuff in the works that may result very, very favorably, and I'm hopeful that that will occur. It's going to take some time to work it out, and we have several months during the winter to work something out.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, and then one other thing, going back to an earlier comment, this was from Dan, who's not here. They talked about bringing some kind of a revision for the foyer to the board. That surprised me because, as a policy board, what's going on in the foyer just doesn't seem to me, that just seemed to be nuts and bolts. What color you paint a wall, or whether you put a coat hook there or a coat hook there.
Yeah,
I think that's really day-to-day stuff in the operations team and the aesthetics team.
right.
So I don't know how the others feel, but that's how I feel.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah, I didn't mean to misrepresent that.
Oh, okay.
It would probably go to the ops team and, but, if there was any question, it might be some complaints or something that it's smart to at least let the board know what we're doing. That was on my
Well,
mind.
there's always complaints.
Yeah, I already have one.
There's
I
no,
already-
there's no issue that anything decision we make is met with
Yes.
equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah,
I already got one complaint and I said, I think you need to talk to Rebecca because she would know who's involved. I said, I don't do that stuff.
yeah, well, that's something that needed to be done. We had a lot of clutter out in that area. It looks so much better now, and some people may not like it, but that's an aesthetic choice, and onward we go.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the complaint wasn't aesthetics, it was just that there's poor lighting under the books or above the books. And people,
Yes.
Well-
with cloudy weather, there's not enough daylight coming in. People were having trouble looking at some of the fine print in the books.
Oh, well, that's
Well,
strange.
let
Yeah.
me bring you up to date on that. We looked at that today and don't think it's a finished product by far. So we'll be putting together some ideas, some plans and try and we'd like to have it dramatic when you walk in the front door and it looks warm and comfortable in there. And, so we had a number of ideas this afternoon that we haven't put together yet, but we want to get through the art show first before we tackle that. So anyway, I think there's a lot can be done in that entry and we're in the plan that we had for the future too, by the way, which we can't afford, but we'll do a mini version of that for the front entry. And hopefully all of you will like it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Sounds
like
good.
what happened so far.
One
Yeah.
final comment, at our social justice meeting last night. The complaint that we have is that they took things off of our table that were current actions. And had we known that that was going to happen, it would have been nice to have had one person from social justice there to say, no, that's a current issue. Just saying.
I
Yeah,
know
that should have
that-
happened. I agree. I'm surprised, actually. I thought they were just switching. Well, I mean, all this was done without me. Not that I wanted to be in it. I don't. I trust people to make things look better. They did. Right.
Yeah,
And I thought
maybe.
the social justice table looked a lot better. Having that smaller table that was nicer looking and having its own area. But certainly nobody should have gotten rid of anything. I just thought from what I was told, they just put it all on one table. So I'm sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then our plans too, that we had, I guess we're talking about maybe putting those up in the entry, versus, where they're hidden away back in a room right now.
Yeah, I hope so. I was surprised. I was disappointed to see those off the wall too. But there's an old saying that it's easier to get forgiveness than permission. And when you sat around and seen the same problem over and over and over, and nobody does anything about it
That's right,
until you
that's
do
right.
something about it, and then all of a sudden everybody cares. I
Yeah.
understand that too, but I told Rebecca we need to have those back up. That's a source of inspiration, and suggested that we move the banner that's hanging on one of those walls in the entry
Right,
and put it somewhere in the sanctuary, on a hook or something. Not in the sanctuary, but in the friendship area. And then we would have that whole wall to display those.
yeah.
Well,
Anyway, we'll be working on that and in some way we'll try and make everybody happy, including the board.
There's some people happy. That's the goal. Most people.
Tom,
Well, one other thing while we're talking about the foyer, I have noticed, as have all of you, and I've, as an usher, kind of wandering around there and bouncing back and forth from the foyer to the usher area. I've had a couple of people ask me, how come the information about the historical stuff that's there about the ministers we've had in the past or some historical aspects, how come that's not updated? And question therefore being, is there any way that the aesthetics team could assume some aspect of updating some of that historical information about the church?
Yeah, we looked at that today too, and the problem on that board is we don't have room for Todd very well. And he's been here quite a while, and I think it would be good to have him up there.
I think you should probably just get just a new panel and just have me in it.
No kings, no kings.
Yeah, no,
Well, yeah.
Anyway, we're
I'm
looking.
not part of history yet.
You might not have a big picture, but by golly, we'll get you on there some way.
It's all right, man. I'm glad to occupy Dietrich's pulpit. That's the greatest honor of my life.
Yeah.
Okay, folks.
And having Wiley like me. And having Wiley like me.
Well, yeah.
I think,
Oh,
oh, Jean, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'll just speak to the historical panels. When they were put together, we just included everything up to that date, and our thought was we'd wait till we had another several years until we made another panel. So that's why you haven't seen another panel yet. Plus, again, a place to put it would be another issue. So we'll take it all your comments under consideration.
Thank you. All right, I think we'll call our meeting to a close and adjourn at 5:32. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Good night.
Thank you.